Welcome to Starforge playthrough. I've already rolled to see who goes first, and the Terrans are going to take the first turn. They get to choose if they want to go first or have their opponent go first. In the first player only gets to activate one of their ships, so half the actions normally. But first we're going to start with the build phase. Because the Terrans have 2 credits on a controlled world, which is their home faction world, they have a couple of options of things they can build. They can build a deflector, a cargo bay, or an engine. I'm going to start us off with an engine on this ship here and slide into the action phase. Now, as I mentioned, we have 2 actions instead of 4, or activating of 1 ship instead of 2, because we're going first. But what the Terrans have in the latest set of rules is a extra action on the very first turn they take during the game. So we're going to get 3 actions out of this ship here. And my first action is going to be a move action. That's going to take it 1 location ahead and a second location because when I purchased an engine, I ended up with 2 yellow sublight icons, which means every 1 action I spend allows me to move 2 locations. Up to. I can go less if I want. Now that I've landed here at the green planet, I'm going to roll an attack, attacking this location, which has a defense of 8, in hopes of getting an 8 or higher. I did not. I rolled a 4. And my 4 was boosted by my laser cannon, so I technically had a 5. I'll use my third and last action to take another attack, and this time I succeed. That rotates a location 90 degrees, which favorably places that under my control. On my subsequent turn, I'll have gained an extra 2 credits. But that ends my turn. Okay, so we're ready for the Goo player's first turn, and instead of a buying of parts, what the Goo player does is evolve. So during their build phase, the very first thing they do is they look out on the board for any of these splatter tokens, of which there are none on turn 1, so we're going to skip right over that step. We're going to move on to the expand step, which we do both of these next 2 things every turn. First is called spread. We take 1 splatter token from our pool off to the side there, and we add it to any 1 location that we control. Since it's the start of the game, the only one that we control is our faction world, so we add it there. Next, we fire our goo cannon. This goo race likes to spread the icky goo across the universe, and we do that by rolling a die, and whatever that result is how many locations we count from the faction world out. So we're actually going to drop another splatter token right here at this adjacent world, like so. Moving on, after that expand step, we go to the action phase. During the action phase, because the Terran players went first, they only took 2 actions. We're going to actually get to activate both of our ships for a total of 4 actions. The Goo player scans the board, noticing that he's got 2 planets of the same color, which is going to make it a little bit harder for him to go for a resource victory. A resource victory requires that you bring 3 resource cubes back to your homeworld of different colors. So obviously that's not high up on his strategy list for this game. Instead, he might activate those resources for their card ability, which in this case, you can spend one of these resources to boost a ship 1 targeting value on all of its dice rolls for the rest of the turn. That's actually been updated in the rules in case you're seeing here on the cards that it's not quite the same. So I'm going to take my first ship and move it ahead 1, and I'm going to take my second ship and move it ahead 1. One of these ships will spend an action to support its ally. So this ship here has a +1 added to its attack roll from that support. And this ship will use its remaining action to attack that world. Rolling a 9, he didn't even need the support. He got it handily, turning this world towards that player. I should mention that it was actually easier than that because the splatter token provides a -2 effect to this defense, so it was overkill. The planet, red planet here, is now turned to face me. We don't really care so much about credits as the Goo player, but we do care about command, and I've now got 3 command stars in my favor, and on the subsequent turn I could pick up this resource now that I control this world. For Terran's turn 2, we're going to spend our new 4 credits on a fancy little command deck adding that to this ship here back at the faction world. So this ship now has an extra action each turn. We'll start with this ship taking its actions, now that we're all done spending all of our credits, to move for action number 1. Action number 2 will be to attack this blue world. 4 plus 1 is not enough to take over this planet, so we'll spend action number 3 to make another attack. And this time we succeed, spinning this world in favor of the Terran opponent that I'm up against here. Now with my remaining ship, I have 2 more actions, so we will spend action number 1 to build a structure. And the structure I'm going for is a refinery. That's this little square token here, and it says +1 credit. So not only have I picked up this blue world, so I've got a total of 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll have 6 credits because of the refinery I just added. And that just takes 1 action to put down one of our structures as the Terran player. And action number 2, I will move into range of the Starforge location. Notice that I've also got 1, 2, 3, 4 stars, and that the Starforge is an older printing. It should actually only be worth 1 command point, 1 star. You'll see that I need to take over the Starforge and maybe one of these other worlds if I'm going for a command victory. And otherwise, I've got a pretty good start on credits. And we're going to slide over to Goo Player's turn 2. Alright, so Goo Player turn 2 starts with the evolution step during their build phase. So we take these splatter tokens and just set them above the planet so we know that they have the opportunity to evolve. If I wanted, I could leave them on the world. Why would I do that, you ask? Well, one of the options is to wait until you have 3 of these splatter tokens on one world, and you can evolve all 3, spending them, into another ship, another mothership, which would look like this. I'm not going to do that this early in the game though. Instead, I am going to evolve this splatter token here into a queen brain, and it's a queen because it has this little splatter icon on it, allowing me to drop a free splatter token each turn. And I can just add that to my mothership if it's at the same location for free. There's no cost to that. Over here, I'm going to turn this splatter token into a drone of my choice, and in this case, I want it to be one of the drones that can move and attack. Goo Player, I always can add 1 splatter token to a world I control. May as well put it out here further in the row of things, and then fire my Goo Cannon, my favorite part of playing the Goo Player. And 6, oh wow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I actually get to drop a splatter token on my opponent's world. He's not going to like that very much. And that completes my build phase. Moving into the action phase, I am going to take my drone here, which has a single action per turn because it's a little support ship, and move it 1 ahead. Drone ships, like the Goo Brains, can be added for free to a ship, so why not upgrade this ship here? And now it's twice as tough when it comes to attacking and can move twice as fast. First thing I'm going to do is spend an action here with my mothership, which is a queen, and drop another splatter token on this world. Now I'm working towards that 3rd ship. I'm going to spend the second action for this mothership to pick up this resource, and this ship's actions are complete. This ship here is going to move ahead. I see that the Terran player is sort of threatening space, so I need to get up here and start protecting. And with my second action, I'm going to attack this red planet here by rolling a couple dice. An 8 is plenty to take over this world. I spin that in my direction. Okay, so I've completed all the actions I can take with my Goo faction, so we're off to Terran turn 3. So we're back at the Terrans. For their turn, they're going to spend their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 credits by buying another laser cannon and adding that to this ship out here. He's becoming quite the battleship. And I'm also going to add a sensor array to this ship. That costs 3, so I spent all 6. Sensor array lets me reroll one of my attack dice per attack, so that's pretty handy. And starting with this ship here during my action phase, I'm going to spend one of its 3 actions. Remember, it has a 3rd action because of this command deck. First action is going to be to pick up this resource. Second action is going to be to drop another refinery. Remember, the refineries add credits each round, and I can only have 1 of each type of structure. So it's not like I could have added another one of these refineries to this world. That's going to guarantee, unless something remarkable happens, that I'll be able to buy my 3rd starship on my next turn. And with my last action, I'm going to slide this ship back home. And for free, you can always drop resources. So I am 1 step closer to having 3 different resource cubes at my homeworld of a different color, and victory. So that ship is complete. Now with the battleship out here, I'm going to attempt to take over the Starforge with my first of 2 actions, attacking. And I roll a 7. Notice I have 2 laser cannons, so that's boosted up to a 9. That's not quite enough, but I do have my radar array, so I'm going to get to reroll this 1 and nail it. All right, so that's enough to spin Starforge towards the Terran player. Now, I only spent that 1 action of 2, so I may as well spend my second action to pick up this very valuable yellow resource. I say it's valuable because of all the planets, it's the one that gives an ability here that is just straight up 1 free action if I was to spend this icon, this resource cube. And I probably won't do that because I'm edging closer to a 3 resource victory, a monopoly victory it's called. But instead, I will hold on to that resource and hope that I don't get it taken away by the goo player, whose turn's coming up next. Back over to the goo player. First thing they're going to do during their evolve step is decide which splatter tokens. We're going to leave these here. We're not going to evolve these splatter tokens because we want to eventually build a mothership. But this one over here that the Terran player totally forgot about is going to get placed here and turned into a drone. That'll be nice and annoying for the Terran player. Then we're going to expand. So we're going to drop a splatter token on a world that we control. This one works for me. I did that because I know that this queen here can drop her own splatter token for free. And then I'm going to fire the goo cannon, so lots of splatters everywhere. Another 6. That means that we get to drop another splatter token on Terra. Then we slide into the action phase. We'll move this drone here over to the blue world and see if we can get lucky and steal, or at least turn it neutral away from our opponent. The drone only gets to roll 1 die, but he does have a +1. So that worked out in the goo's favor in a huge way. 5 + 1 gives him a 6. That's enough to spin this world neutral. Now, what effect does that have? For one, the Terran player no longer gets the base credits from that location. He still gets his refinery because it's built there, but he doesn't get the command point either. Any player can always use the abilities listed on any planet as long as they have the resource to spend. So really what I've taken away from the Terran player with that very lucky roll with the drone attack is the command point and the base credit value. That's going to make it much tougher for the Terran to go for that victory of command stars. Now I just need to defend against the resources. So that completes the drone's action. I can spend actions from the motherships, and the action is called Beckon, which will pull drones in a direction, well, push or pull actually, but I don't think that's to my best interest right now. What is this battleship. I need to deal with that. So I'm going to first spend 1 action to move my ship here. Spend an action, first actually I'm going to do a free action and drop the Queen's splatter token there. Her first action will be to move here. Her second action, she's going to wait on her second action. This ship here is going to launch an attack against this battleship. And before I do that, I will spend this resource to give a +1 to my attacking ship. Notice that I didn't have to be at the same location to do it. Spending resources can happen anywhere, and that resource could have been located on my ship or on my homeworld. I spend it, and it's gone for the turn. It'll regrow later, and I'll show you how that works. Now, I spent it so that my ship here would have a +1, so I effectively have a +3 to this die roll. I ended up with a 13. That's good for one important reason. my enemy's ship has a defense of 6. I not only exceeded that 6, but I doubled it. That means he's going to have to lose 2 parts of his choice instead of just 1. Now he's going to get to counterattack me before that happens. So here comes his roll. He ended up with a 7. If he's not happy with that, he actually has a radar array, so he could spend this second die and re-roll it. He can only re-roll one of the 2 dice. Obviously, he's going to keep the 6. So a 9 plus 2 gets him to an 11. He has 2 laser cannons. That's not quite enough to double my defense, which is also a 6. So I'm going to lose 1 part. That seems like a net gain to me. Now, he has to decide which 2 parts he's going to lose. He goes with the removal of his engine, and he's going to choose to get rid of his array, his sensor array. I, on the other hand, have an easy choice. It's just picking one of my drones. And now with my remaining action, you'll see why I waited on this second mothership, what to do with her last action. I will pick up this resource from a controlled world. So I'm all set for my future attacks. The one last thing I want to mention is that this spent resource regrows. So the rule says that at the end of my turn, my opponent gets to decide where this resource regrows on which location. He has to pick a world that has a matching color. So you can see it's sort of in my favor right now. The red worlds were right here. So he's going to make it just a little bit further away from me by choosing this world. And that's where the resource regrows. I hope you've enjoyed this playthrough of Starforge. Please let me know if you have any questions. You can find me on Facebook or on Discord at Epic Endeavor Games. Thanks.